We just had the entire Cowboy Bebop Challenger deck revealed tonight by Tam Cardwell, and I'm pretty hyped. I'm going to give you my instant analysis on the deck as a whole and each card, as well as my snap grades. Let's get into it. Starting with the deck as a whole, I think this was a really solid start to the Challenger deck product line. I'm going to give it a solid B. We have very playable characters. We have several really strong cards. The art on the cards look great. From what we've seen of the collector booster packs, they've been phenomenal. So what's keeping it back from being an A? Well, we were told that these decks were for veterans and Clash decks were for beginners. But to me, this deck seems much more like a Clash deck. It's very simplistic, and I don't think it's ultra competitive right out of the box. We have some very competitive cards in here that will be staples in the game in Standard, but I don't think you're just going to pick up this deck and do super well at a competitive event. And so that's keeping it back from being an A. Also, it remains to be seen whether it's going to return its value on the cost. A Clash deck is $12. These Challenger decks are going to be retailing for $30, more than double the cost of a Clash deck. And I just said that it feels a little bit more like a Clash deck to me. And that could change because Critical Role, we've already had some reveals for those Challenger decks, and I think that those look a lot more veteran focused than what we got here. It looks very complex and very competitive right out of the box from what we've seen so far. And we haven't seen a lot yet, but it looks like that it's going to be trending more in the veteran direction. But back to the cost of these decks. A Clash deck is $12, a Challenger deck is going to be $30. Meaning that this collector booster pack basically needs to return $18 of value or $3 a card. And I think there's a very solid chance of that. I think collectors are going to be chasing these cards. A lot of people are going to want full play sets of these A tier cards. If you pull like an Alt-Art Fae, by the way, which was revealed yesterday, looks incredible, then, you know, maybe you sell it for 20, 30 bucks and your Challenger deck basically paid for itself. So whether it's worth it from a price point really comes down to how valuable are the collector booster packs. All right, let's jump into the cards. First off, we have Spike, 6-hander, 29 health. Flip a foundation. If this attack deals damage, draw one card. You can use that on offense. You can use that on defense. So if you're not going to, if you have no cards in hand, you're going to eat your rival's attack, and then you're going to draw a card. Enhance, your attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for every 3 face-down foundations in your stage. When Spike was first revealed, I thought he was pretty crazy. But since then, we've had Edge Shot come out, and we've had Shoto 4 come out, and I think both of their +1/+1s are probably slightly more powerful than Spike. I'm going to put Spike in the B tier. I don't think he's bad, but I also don't think he's phenomenal. But he's just a really solid player. So the deck as a whole gets a B, Spike gets a B. It's just fitting. Let's get into Fae. 7-hander, 21 health. Tenacious, that means playable while committed. You can flip a foundation, attack is +2 or -2 damage. And then you can response commit after your attack deals damage, add the top card of your discard pile to your hand. So sometimes Fae plays like an 8-hander, basically an 8-hander, 21 health, give 2 damage to everything. How is that not awesome? I'm putting her in the A tier. Now, why is she A- and not just A or A+? Well, she's a 7-hander, and she only becomes an 8-hander if her attack deals damage, but she's not adding speed to her attacks. So she's going to be dependent on just the base speed of the attacks dealing damage, or I guess she could play throws to really consistently get this response off. But she's not adding speed, and then on defense, she's not subtracting speed. So I think she would be A or A+ if this enhance said +2 or -2 speed. +2 or -2 damage is still solid. But that's why she's A- to me. I still think that Fae is very, very strong and the better of the two characters in these kits. All right. Oh, and I also wish that response was not your attack. I wish it was after an attack deals damage. Like how Spike can use that top enhance on defense as well as offense. I wish Fae could use her response on defense. Okay. Action. Welcome to Spaceland. 3 diff, 4 cost, 2 high block. First enhance. If there are 10 or more face-down foundations in both players' stages combined, this attack is unblockable and this enhanced step. Basically, gives your attack flash, right? Because you as the attacking player get to play your first enhance. You're going to play, sorry about that. You're going to play this as your first enhance, and then it ends the enhance step. So it basically gives your attack flash and is now unblockable, meaning that your opponents can't use decoy duplicate or some resets and other ways that you could typically deal with an unblockable attack coming from like Mount Lady 2, for example. Okay, so if you can add damage at a response level, or if you're like Ibarra and you're saying your next attack is 3 damage, or I suppose like Dobby 1 is a character like that where he says your next attack gets damage, does it? Or is it just this current one? I think it's Ibarra. I think I'm more thinking of Ibarra. But then this could be really solid, and unblockable by itself is very powerful. This is not removing itself though, so it's going to stay in your card pool, and it is a 3 diff, so you're going to have to make a check on a 3. If your like attack is the 3rd attack in your string, now you're checking a 6, and this only checks a 4 by itself. So it's very appropriately costed for that, but you also get this nice defensive enhance, remove ready 3 face down foundations. So all of these face down foundations from Spike and Faye, you can then use Welcome to Spaceland, immediately check a 3 and just ready 3 foundations for defense, but you did have to discard a card. I'm going to put this at B+. I don't think there's any way that an action saying, hey, my attack's unblockable is bad. Somebody is going to find a way to break this card. But it is very appropriately costed and gated. So B+. All right. I'm not sure how you pronounce the dog's name. Ein? I'm not sure. N? Okay. N. 2 diff asset, 2 high block, 5 check. Commit if you have 3 or more face down foundations, draw 1 card. Enhance your attack commit if you have 8 or more face down foundations, your rival discards a card. Commit to draw a card is pretty typical for a 2 diff foundation. Assets need to be more powerful than foundations to truly be worth it, because you can't commit them to pass checks. So that by itself is not great, but it is solid. This bottom enhance, though, this utility of sometimes saying, hey, if you have 8 or more face down foundations, your rival discards a card. If you were like, it does have the void symbol, and there's a lot of discard strategy on the void symbol. So I could see this asset finding play in niche circumstances, but I'm just going to give it a C+. By the way, if you're not familiar with like my ranking system, and A is it's going to be a staple in the game. You're going to see it all across at competitive events. A B is you will see this finding play. And then a C is you're probably not going to find it seeing a lot of play, but in niche circumstances, you could see it. So N, like if you're playing this heavy discard strategy, I could see you putting this asset in. All right, questioning threat, 3 diff attack, 2 mid 3, 2 low block. Flip 1 foundation, this attack is 3 speed. So basically it's a 5 mid 3, but you just have to flip a foundation. That's not a huge cost. Deadlock enhance, your next check to play card gets +5. That's pretty awesome, but it is deadlock. And so most of the time I'm not going to be taking deadlock into consideration when I'm making my grades. It's there, but it's there as like a cherry on top type thing. And it has the ranged keyword. I think it's solid. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. But a 3 diff 5 mid 3 can't be bad, right? We just talked about how Faye really needs her attack to deal damage to get this response off. And so a 5 speed attack is very helpful towards that endeavor. All right, ultra rare, 5 diff, 4 low, 6, 2 high block. First enhance, discard a momentum, unflip 2 foundations. That's really good. Response, after you flip a foundation, this attack gets +1 speed. So if you're like Spike and you can flip a foundation on your face, then this is now a 5 low 6. If you have anything in your stage that you can also flip, then it's a 6 low 6. That's pretty solid stats. And you can discard a momentum to unflip 2 things. Yeah, I like it. I don't think it's A tier, but I think if you're a character who's dealing with face down foundations, then you're going to really like this. I think Spike in particular is just going to really like this card. All right. Falling Heel Strike, 4 diff, 2 high 4, 2 low block, unflip 1 foundation. This attack gets +2 speed. We really don't have a lot in the game that unflips foundations. I mean, we sort of have Invisible Infiltration, where it removes a foundation and then it builds it back in, which basically unflips something. Oh, and this has Stun 1, by the way. Stun 1, and it's a kick. So finally, some much needed kick support coming in. Basically, this is going to be a 4-high-4, stun 1, unflip a foundation. There is no way this attack is not A tier. And it just has a low block. The only thing that can make this card better is if it had a little better of keywords. The kick keyword is nice, but it's certainly not one of like the best 4 or 5 keywords in the game. It's not like ranged or punch or weapon, charge. So it's definitely like on the lower end of keywords. But 4-high-4, stun 1, unflip a foundation. How can you not like that? All right, high roundhouse kick. 4-def, 4-high-4, 2-high block. Discard momentum. This attack gets 5 damage. So then it becomes a 4-high-9. That's very solid stats. Like, I love an attack when it gets to 3 stats per difficulty. So at a 4-high-9, you're talking about 13 stats on 4-diff. That's a little more than 3 stats per difficulty. So you might be surprised when I say this is C+ tier. And the reason is that discard 1 momentum is a real cost. Early in the game, I'm not going to want to poke with a 4-high-4 blank attack. I want to be playing something that's going to draw me a card. It's going to be building me a resource. It's going to be hurting my rival stage. Somehow I want to be gaining tempo. I don't want to just play an attack that gets blocked and I say, well, I just discarded an attack. Like I discarded a card from my hand and it only has the kick keyword. Like late in the game, you might really like this if you just need to find that damage. And I understand on the water symbol, you might really be needing that damage and there's not a lot of cards that truly get there. So I see the utility of this card and that's why I'm giving it a plus. If this card wanted to be like an A tier card, I think it would need to say plus 8 damage to where it becomes a 4-high-12. Then I could definitely see it finding a lot of play. Like I'd put it in like the A-. But as it is, C+. Okay, Hunter's Pursuit, 5-diff, 5-low-5, 2 mid-block. If you have 3 or more face-down foundations, your next attack gets -2 difficulty. That's really good. And these characters, you'll always have 3 face-down foundations, right? And then it's basically a 3-diff, 5-low-5. So that's 10 stats on a 3-diff. Oh, and it has ally and ranged and EX too. It just kind of randomly has EX2 on it. I think it's pretty solid. I'm going to put it in B+. I could see this card this attack finding play in a lot of different decks. I don't think it's a staple. I don't think it's A tier, but very, very nice. All right, Jaw Jammer. 4-diff, 2-high-4, destroy a foundation. This attack gets 4 damage. Okay, so then it becomes overstated, right? 2-high-10 or 2-high-8. Kind of similar to the roundhouse kick, 4-high-9 if you discard a momentum. Except destroying a face-down foundation that's not really a cost. That's not a big deal. Face-down foundations are going to be the first things you commit. You're going to be destroying a committed foundation. Not a cost. But it's a throw. And an 8 damage throw is nuts. Therefore, this is getting A tier. I'm going to put it at A-, because, it is 2 speed. There are a lot of ways for your rival to deal with throws. But an 8 damage throw, that's nuts. It's on the life symbol. We could have like throw overhaul coming back where he adds 2 damage and now it's 10 damage. When it deals half damage, overhaul's going to gain health. Of course, it's very good for Spike and Faye. I don't see any world in which this isn't A tier. I understand it has a 3 mid blocks, not great. But if you have an 8 damage throw, you're A tier. That's just the rules. Okay, if you're a 4-diff. All right, 6-diff, split second standoff, 5 mid, 8, 0 mid block, 2 first enhances, so you only get to choose one of these. You don't get to do both. This attack is +2 speed, or if you have 8 or more face down foundations, double this attack speed. So it's either it's a 7 mid, 8 no matter what. 2.5 stats per difficulty, not too shabby. But sometimes it's going to become a 10 mid, 8, 3 stats per difficulty, very good. You're sharing 2 symbols with like overhaul, for example, where you play this and you say, hey, now it's a 10 mid 10, and you can play it ignoring progressive difficulty. That would feel really good. You're going to hear me say overhaul a lot just because overhaul likes face down foundations. So he's the character that immediately comes to mind for a lot of these beyond just the challenger deck characters. I'm going to give this a B-. I don't love it for a 6-diff. Early in the game, playing a 7 mid 8, but then if you check a 3 on this, it's just going to feel terrible. It is decent. Like I see the utility of this card, but I don't see it finding a ton of play. All right, On to the foundations. Leaving the Bebop. 3 diff, 2 high, checks a 5. Sorry. a brain fart there. Okay, enhance. Flip. Discard 1 momentum. Mill cards from your deck until you mill an attack. Add the milled attack to your hand. I think this is a solid B. You know, you're flipping it, you're not destroying or removing, but you do have to discard a momentum, and then you're going to go grab an attack. It is a 3 diff foundation. You're always going to be fighting for slots as a 3 diff. On deck builds, you can only place so many of these. You don't get to selectively choose your attack. It's just whatever mills. But if you're playing any sort of mill strategy, this is really nice. You know, you could like mill 5 or 10 cards before you find an attack, and that would be awesome. But flip, discard momentum, go grab an attack. I see the utility of it. Okay, 2 diff, ending the dream. 3 mid block. Destroy, your attack gets +4 damage. I'm not really here for this. Like, I'll put it at C+ because it doesn't say non-throw. So destroying this foundation to add 4 damage to a throw makes sense. But this isn't where I would want to be as a 2 diff with a bad block. I think this would have to say like destroy, your attack gets 6 damage for me to really say, okay, that's my card. All right, 1 diff, fast, friendship, 3 high block, flip. This attack is -2 speed. That's already good for a 1 difficulty foundation, but it gets better. If you have more face down foundations than your rival, this attack gets -3 speed instead. So a 1 difficulty foundation that says flip -3 speed. We've seen like on life, you have that 1 difficulty foundation all protect you. It says commit flip, your rival's attack gets -3 speed. And that saw a lot of play. So this is even better because we're not committing, we're just flipping it. And so it gets to stay ready. Very, very good. It's basically like commit -4 speed if you think about it. Commit -4 speed, that was on a 3 difficulty foundation sticky balls. Now I understand it's a one-time use, it's a flip, but this is a spam foundation. Very, very good. A tier, you're going to see this foundation everywhere. All right, 2 difficulty, finally awake, 1 high block. Commit 1 foundation, your high or mid attack gets +1 speed, +1 damage. You're going to be using this to make your face down foundations do something, right? Because on most anything else, commit a foundation for +1/+1, not, you know, that's solid return, but it's not like phenomenal return. But on a face down foundation, this makes your face downs good and you can use it on all of your attacks that turn. I'm going to put it B- because it's a 2 diff foundation. Committing something for +1/+1 is fine, but it's not great. So B-. All right, 2 diff, light it up, 1 mid block. If you have more face down foundations than your rival, your attack gets +1 damage. Okay, we've already seen like a lot of 2 difficulty foundations basically say +1 damage for free. Like I'm thinking of that Endeavor 1 foundation that says like mill 1, your attack gets 1 damage. So this is like heavily this is like more gated than that. If you have more face down foundations than your rival, that's far from a guarantee. I understand if you're playing like Spike or Faye, there's a good chance of it, but it's still not guaranteed. There's a lot of characters in this game that like face down foundations. So I'm going to put this in B- tier. Honestly, could be C+ tier. Okay, 1 difficulty foundation, 2 mid block, nothing like Andy. After you block with this card, remove it. Nope. This is the worst card in the deck, and it's not close. We have on the water symbol a 0 difficulty foundation named Acrobatic that hardly sees play. It sees niche play, but it doesn't see massive competitive play. And it says after you block with it, remove it, and it's a 2 mid block. But it also has a second enhance that says playable while committed, destroy this foundation, your opponent's attack gets -1 speed. So it actually has another ability, and it's a 0 cost foundation. So I'm going to put this in C- tier. I just don't see this ever seeing play. So what's the quote here? What part of me could be anything like that stupid ass? Well, you'd have to be a stupid ass to play it. Okay, sorry. 2 difficulty foundation. Sing for me. Listen, I don't cuss typically, but it was on the card, okay? It was just on the card. 3 low block. Enhance, commit, discard 1 momentum, gain 2 health, and draw 1 card. 2 difficulty foundations commit to draw is pretty common, but here you have to discard that momentum. I wish that was like separated out, like it just said commit, draw 1 card. Optionally, you could also discard a momentum, gain 2 health. Like I wish those were separated out. I'm going to put it in the C tier. Really don't see this seeing play as a 2 diff. Okay, 1 difficulty foundation, skeptical. 3 mid block, checks a 4, and I'm very skeptical on this foundation. Response, flip. After you flip a foundation, ready this foundation. So it counts as 2 foundations on a one-time use. But if you check a 4, then you're committing a foundation when, right? Like if you play 5 difficulty attack and you check skeptical, now you have to commit a foundation. So why can't this check a 5? And it's a 3 mid block. Why can't it have a good block? This is terrible. It's going to the C tier. Okay. Syndicate target, 0 diff, 0 low block, 6 check. After you play this card as a block, lose 1 health. I don't care about that. This is very, very good. This is A tier. Now we have 2 life 0 diffs that check a 6 and have great block modifiers. We have that Ryukyu foundation with the 1 high block, but you don't have to lose a health when you block with it. Here you're saying that you have to lose a health. So any character that flips foundations, or anybody playing attacks where you want to flip your own foundations, or foundations where you want to flip your own foundations, this is great. You can just build this in. It helps you get solid turn 1 builds, and then you can just flip it in your stage. It's also going to help you later in the game by checking a 6, and it's that 0 low block that sometimes will save your life against Tongue Whip. Okay, Fateful Meeting, 2 diff, 2 low block, 5 check, unique. Remove after you take damage from an unblocked attack. Your rival loses 3 health. Cannot kill your rival. Okay, so you're going to be getting rid of a ready resource and taking damage to do 3 damage to your rival. You better be like, dude, this is kind of disrespectful towards your rival. Like, you're that confident you're not going to die that turn that you're just willing to remove it and make them take 3 damage, and you have to eat their attack, right? So I don't know. This is on the life and water symbols, 2 symbols that love to play defense. You don't want to eat an attack. If you're like Faye, for example, you don't want to take an unblocked attack just to do 3 damage to your rival. Why is this? I don't understand why it's 2 difficulty. It's the C tier. Okay, so that was it for the deck. You can tell that I liked the attacks more than the foundations on average. Most of these foundations were C or B. Most of the attacks were either B or A. So attack-wise, pretty happy with it. Foundations could have used some work, but we still got some solid ones. Fast Friendship and that 0 diff, right? So it wasn't all bad on the foundation line. Totally, we had 5 A tier cards, 9 B tier cards, 7 C tier cards. And that's pretty solid. That means that out of the 21 cards in this deck, 14 of the cards are going to see pretty consistent play, and 5 of those cards are going to be staples in the game, basically, and these are the 5. So if you're buying this deck, you are fundamentally buying it for these 5 cards. Fae, Queen of Hearts, Falling Heel Strike, Jawjammer, Syndicate Target, and Fast Friendship. Other than that, you are buying the deck to get the collector pack, right? And that is what, I'm going to be doing an unboxing video and uploading it January 12th. And I can tell you right now that I am having a hard time not just tearing into this box right now and opening that collector pack. Very, very badly want to see what I got. And I'm hoping that I got an Altart Fae. Well, that is going to do it for me today, guys. I will be back tomorrow with instant analysis and snap grades for the Trigun Stampede deck.